May someone please tip me? That's the only way that I receive enough money to do things. If you want enough money to do things, you should get a job. This is my job. But you're on the internet begging for money. Why don't you make this video? I have a job. Why don't you give me money? I shouldn't need to. I've been a software engineer for 15 years, and I mention that because that's the community that I intend to build. Not only, I've also been in the arts and entertainment. My first job after college was working for a business to business media publication company. Through college, I got pretty deep into software engineering practices by writing my own PHP framework multiple times. Since college, I've been developing a language and exploring its practical applications to marketing. Cheers. I've been an artist for most of my life, and I mention that because that's the community that I intend to build. For a while, I focused more specifically on software engineering because I thought that engineering would pay more. There are some jobs that pay software developers a lot of money, and that isn't a guarantee. I lost my job twice in 2022, and the system is kinda broken. I can complain about the system, and I do, and I can also try to address the things that I feel are broken about it. Cheers. Sometimes I go live on TikTok and I read through educational psychology papers and I talk about what I learn as I read through them. Sometimes this takes multiple hours, and I appreciate that my team can be available for parts of that to maintain motivation. My major in college was learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. Eventually, I might apply learning science and develop some skills. Cheers. You're allowed to handwrite HTML and vibe code CSS and work your way through HTML documentation. I've been a software engineer for 15 years, and now we don't necessarily need a backend if we can ask AI to generate the front end. One reason why we wouldn't want to generate a front end entirely is so we can describe our unique voice. Every person is going to approach a concept uniquely, and being able to describe your relationship to time and development is valuable. Learning HTML isn't very difficult, and there is a lot of ground to cover. If you want to describe that you have competency in structured language, you can learn HTML. Cheers! If you're an experienced software engineer, you don't necessarily need to know data structures and algorithms. You will need to be able to navigate data structures, and you might have had a career that has only required the algorithms that are already baked into the language you're using. Eventually, with enough experience, you might notice some patterns of teams not using the languages that they're using. Like, there are often features built into the libraries, the standard library, or peripheral libraries into the ecosystem that might be the standard way to approach solving a problem. There are so many things that you can learn with software engineering. There needs to be some strategy for navigating the noise. This is where sorting algorithms become more relevant, and the domain-specific values associated with sorting are going to indicate which information is more relevant. I have a lot of art, and I was planning on coming out with a pilot movie in 2025. I still do want to sort my art, but I can't come out with a movie in 2025. So when I sort my art, I'm going to be doing it towards a movie that is now no longer going to come out in 2025. Because I made the art, I care about it, and I want to be able to tell the stories associated with the reasons I created it. And I also have family who are trying to sort what they view as junk. Being wise about my time, I understand that if I have practiced making videos, and I can do that consistently and clearly and understand what people tend to look for, I can also make a video sorting through my art. And if I associate the goals that I have for telling a story with the reasons why junk might not just be junk, I can spend the time that I spend sorting art also helping family organize their values, or items that represent things they used to value. What if our items are more useful for the story than they are as just a random collection of items? Cheers. If you improvise videos every day, you can repost the videos that remain relevant after a few years. If you do, this might set the direction for the brand that people understand, or what people understand about your brand. I've been a software engineer for 15 years, and I'm encouraging you to hire me for web development so we can talk about what's changing about the technology media ecosystem. Technology media landscape? Like, you might not necessarily need a website if you know someone who has one and can write an article about whatever you want to advertise. One reason why you might want a website is so you don't need to rely on an external service to do that. You can also connect your domain name to a Blue Sky handle and post there instead of posting on your website. I make videos with tips to point at an ecosystem that I'm developing. My goal with these videos is to provide value and indicate that there's a reason why you would hire me beyond just watching these videos. Cheers! When I make videos and go live, sometimes people stop by my live stream and wonder about a topic that I've made a video about. If I'm having a conversation with other engineers or authors or illustrators or actors, then the conversation can go towards what the room understands is common or relevant in common. If I charged for these events, no one would show up. So I don't. If I go an amount of time without being paid, I will be grumpier and go live less often. Cheers! You might be able to imagine that I can stitch the videos that I've uploaded to TikTok and upload that stitched video to YouTube. I'm not sure if you've been on YouTube within the past few months or year. There's a new feature with Gemini that can summarize videos. Because I've been networking on TikTok, I know a variety of people who are looking for work in a variety of industries. I can help them stand out by assigning them work and making it very easy for them to demonstrate competency. And the videos that I make aren't necessarily very visually interesting. I prioritize being informative, so they also aren't very narratively interesting. If I have conversations with authors or illustrators or editors, then I can make some of my videos more interesting, and I can make this easier by summarizing the videos in advance. So if I make a video or a set of videos that are relevant for a particular industry, I can reach out to people who are trying to get hired and make a commercial for our skills. Cheers! Hire me for marketing. We can develop a website over time, and the time that we spend developing a website can be spent marketing as well. I need to make videos about web development anyway, and if you have a brand, that makes my work more describable. Cheers. I've been a software engineer for 15 years and I've had a team for more than 200 days. We build software, and some of us have apps that have been published on multiple app stores. Now it takes me about an hour to make 10 videos, and the quality is relevant and the lighting is relevant because people skim my profile and click on whichever videos. When I improvise my content, I feel different ways about the things that I say, and that's the reason why people consider what I say. Currently, it costs me about $60 to $75 to be able to get out and interact with the world. So that's my goal usually. If you have marketing or web development needs, I can respond to those, and you can consider what other people might charge. And you can also consider that I'm an actual person who has goals to stabilize my well being. My thought is if we want to build a better world, we need to do the things that help us consider what that world might be and work towards it. So I do. Your support means a lot. Thank you. Cheers. Growing up, I was pretty stressed about money, and I also had difficulties organizing. I had a hard time remaining organized. My dad told me I'd need a high paying job if I wanted to be able to exist because I would keep on losing things. This video is an intro to a concept about ADHD, art, and engineering. I was stressed about money because my parents always seemed to have it on the back of their minds. My father started his own company, his own business, helping other businesses grow. So when I went into engineering, my goal was to make it more likely for finances to flow successfully into my family. After I dropped out of college, I got hired into a development position, into a digital applications developer role. Since then, jobs haven't usually cared about my degree as much as they've cared about my skills, projects, and network. It's often felt like my father's held it against me that I didn't finish a degree when I first went to college, despite my goal of finishing a degree. If we have an education crisis that's getting worse every year, we need to do the things to address that. And if people aren't enrolling in college, they also won't graduate with a degree. I still point to college as a valuable resource. I'd like to make it more available to more people. I described to my job that I was curious about getting diagnosed with something so I could figure out why it was so difficult for me to focus. When I mentioned that a lot of the symptoms of ADHD aligned with what I was trying to address, my job gave me a deadline that I couldn't reach because I didn't have insurance at the right time. When I didn't reach that deadline, I was fired for deliberate poor work performance on a stabilization team. This was in 2022. Being able to afford to lose things only works while you have the income to be able to afford to lose things. I needed skills to be able to navigate what might be considered ADHD, or it might just be a lack of skills in relevant dimensions. I had difficulty remaining organized, and part of that is because I didn't exist in an environment that gave the same esteem to what I was trying to organize. I need to organize my art anyway, and I might watch Netflix while I do that. I can also generate a movie from my art and improvise while I navigate my art and post that somewhere that someone else can watch. Cheers! I developed these skills because I was stressed about money and believed I needed a high paying job to navigate what I discovered could be described as ADHD. Is that the most accurate description? I'm not sure. I found new ways to navigate the symptoms, and also now I have skills. Instead of acknowledging there were reasons why I wanted to find strategies to navigate skills, my father has mostly asserted that the reality I navigate isn't real. And I wonder why I would have spent the time. Why did I go to college if not to learn? Why can't I apply the things that I've learned in college to businesses my family operate? Cheers.